genocide.
There are people who wouldn't understand.
Genocide, the method of systematic extermination of a people. Think of the historical precedent.
Oh, I fully understand your author's pride. But from a practical point of view,
This little mixture of mine is as lethal as cyanide. And as selective as a lady buying perfume.
you'll just work on the black folks. Leave the rest of us alone? You better be damn sure.
The Hard Way. That was incredible.
That was the only me and you survived the movie.
Yeah, it was great, right?
Yeah, very, very great film.
Yeah. Gordon Parks Jr. really knocked it out the park. Getting started with the decoding, I did want to mention a lot of Chris Welsing moments. Jim Brown being called baby in the recording studio by the grown man.
My sound is to reroute my sound to my laptop. So I just unplug my HDMI cable. 1 second.
Yellow.
But yeah, as I was saying, also like a lot of that attire back then was very feminine, just to say the least. like the shoes that Keys was wearing one time, well, weren't that far away from being heels. But all in all, incredible film. Film was written by white people, directed by Gordon what's his name? Gordon Parks Jr. Yeah.
So was it directed by a black person?
Yeah, written by white people. So that can explain why the main character's name is Jimmy Late. Yeah, like it was a black person, or black people are supposed to be late to everything or something. I don't know. Just
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris Welsing moment, the whole genocide, the movie being about white people trying to genocide black people through biological, chemical warfare. Very, very realistic film. I think this is why Gordon Parks Jr. was exiled, then and I suspect killed by white people because he died in a plane crash at the age of 44. I think that's suspicious. I think the usual suspects have something to do with that. But this film is really, I believe, really important to Black self-respect. It's a good example of levels of Black self-respect, of Black people being able to come together, solve a problem, them being able to work together and solve a problem, and doing what needs to be done to solve a problem. The problem being white people wanting to kill all the Black people in Detroit, LA, and Chicago. So they put an end to it.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but I believe that this movie is very much still relevant. And I think what's happening in Flint, Michigan is a prime example of white people being capable of poisoning an entire community's populations of water supply. And for context, what happened in Flint has left nearly, 10,000 non-white children brain damage, permanent brain damage. And nothing. I think someone was arrested recently. I'm not sure if it was like the mayor or someone, but he wasn't really charged with much. So in the system of racism, white supremacy, you can always expect these types of environmental attacks to be real. Truth is realer. I mean, films are often like manifestations of reality. It's stranger than fiction. I don't know if that is the actual saying, but yeah, the film has a lot of messaging in it. You remember the Tuskegee experiments where they were trying to depopulate the black male population by targeting black males and giving them syphilis. Remember the women who are being given operations right now in those ICE camps, and they're having their organs, their reproductive organs removed, so they can't have any more children or any children at that. And also, the same thing happened to black women in the late 70s and 80s, I believe, where they were, giving surgeries in the hospitals without knowing, and they were having their tubes tied without knowing, and all these things.
Yeah, well said. I was just learning last night from Urugu that in the Tuskegee experiment on black people that lasted for about 40 years, I believe, could be longer. But no one was treated. They were literally just observing how syphilis would kill black people in that study. So this movie is definitely not far from reality at all. I did appreciate the director adding in the beginning scenes of Jimmy and Wendy. I believe that was his girlfriend's name. His victim mate's name, Wendy. It was nice to see that deep levels of black respect between a black male and a black female. And the movie, wow, genocide is on the white mind all the time. Is what is a message I believe this movie is trying to teach black people. Um, and that the white army, like they have so many white people helping them. Like how many white people do they have? But like that's what the movie is trying to tell us. Like this is the white nation. They have as many forces as necessary to get the job done. And so far, no one's stopping them. In this movie, it has someone trying to stop them, and they successfully stopped them. But in reality, the white nation doesn't have anyone, or very few people trying to prevent them from mistreating all the black people on planet Earth. So maybe the movie is trying to tell us, hey, start working on solving the problem. Are they gonna? Because they're thinking of ways to kill us all the time. Just Google search the news happening around the world. You're gonna see a lot of people who they call people of color being mistreated or decimated by drone strikes, their land being decimated by oil spills, pipelines, people being removed from their land. So the genocide is happening before our eyes every day. It's just people don't know to call it what it is, and the people who know to call it what it is sometimes are too fearful to do so. But
And the opening scene really depicted what that potential genocide will look like. Factories full of dead black males, dead black bodies. And another Dr. Francis Cress moment when they show dead black males, because symbolically and even biologically, like black males are the only people capable of causing white people's fears to manifest, which is the fear of white genetic annihilation. So the black males have the ability to sexually, reproduce, creating, more non-white black people. And that's a threat to white supremacy in itself. And it was awesome to see Jim Brown and the actress that was playing his partner, engaged in intimate relations and also practicing self-respect. And it was also good to see. I'm not sure if this classifies as a blaxploitation film. I'm pretty sure it is one, but I'm not sure. But it was nice to see a black film where black people are not murdering each other. They're murdering people who are trying to murder them. They're like practicing self-defense by killing white supremacists. It was nice to see a black film where there wasn't any pimps or hoes, or like black people doing drugs and being unconstructive. It was nice to see black males working together as well, in unity to solve the problem, which was stopping these evil, racist, white supremacist scientists from poisoning the Los Angeles water reserve and, targeting black males and black people's DNA so they can die from poison and making a poison that would only kill black people. And definitely makes me think of COVID. Who are dying mostly from COVID. I think the numbers are a lot of black people have been dying. Who dies the most from all of these pandemics? Black people. Ebola, another biological weapon that was created to decimate black people. That COVID, I suspect that's the same thing. I suspect that's a biological weapon made to kill black people, to depopulate the world from black people.
Well said, Mr. And I think calling a film a blaxploitation film is racist in itself. Most films, if not all films, are meant to exploit black people in some way, shape, or form, I believe. So this is just a brilliant film. Most blaxploitation films, or whatever they could like to call those films, have I'm sure a lot of constructive messages in it. Sometimes, like for example, The Spook Who Sat by the Door is considered a so-called black exploitation film, but very powerful messages in that film. So I would just consider that term just a racist term used to diminish the quality of messages and importance of these films. But you're totally correct about this film exuding deep levels of black self-respect, showing black people, even black females, like practicing counter war against the people who are waging war against them. And Black Excellent film, I believe. Very Black Excellent. I love the part where Mr. Key's introduction was very epic. Should be watched by every black person, I believe. What do you think of that scene, Mr. N? Mr. Key's introduction.
Are you talking about the scene in the beginning?
No, the scene where Mr. Key beats up all the race soldiers.
I thought that was really great. It reminded me of all those films that come out and it's like a white person decimating, brutally beating up all the non-white people around them. And it was good to see a black male able to defend himself without the use of firearms and being agile and being quick and being elusive. But also he was adaptive when he needed to use a weapon to save his comrades. He used a weapon. I thought that was very, a great character in a whole. Also, I also think it sheds light on like how Black people really are, masters of kung fu and karate and jujitsu and martial arts in general. I would even say the creators of it, but a lot of people would try to rebuttal that statement. But I do believe that Black people are the originators of martial arts and handheld combat for sure. It's definitely in a way of self defense and also making it like a kind of a dance. You're really the way he fought was like really in flow with something. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the universe.
Well said. The part where the survivor from like the compound where they're like experimenting on the black males and killing them there. Um, when he's in a hospital and the white people come and kill him, that's a good example of how white people are effective and dangerous. Because they use like a crane to get into that window and shot him dead. And it was just wow. White people are like really smart and how they go about their evil plans and destroying Black people. So something to not just take for granted, something to really be aware of and to think, hey, white people are dangerous and effective.
Yeah, that scene reminded me of how Martin Luther King was murdered. A lot of people think, oh, he was shot to death and he died of a shooting. But Martin Luther King actually survived the shooting and was smothered to death in a hospital room in the hospital, um, probably by a racist doctor or a racist cop. But that's what that scene reminded me of. What did you think of Dr. Fetterohu? I don't remember his name, but what do you think of the racist doctor who's concocting this genocidal weapon to kill every Black person in the world?
I think that's a great example of the mad rational scientist that we learn about in Yurugu, and that you know that is what Dr. Frankenstein is all about. Because those people exist. I'm certain of that, and I think those people exist like in the name of now people like Bill Gates and whoever else calls themselves saying they're creating anything that massive amounts of people are going to be forced to take. And I don't think that's correct or just behavior. You know,
Um,
how about you? What do you think of the doctor?
I think it was interesting that their organization used the Nazi Thunderbolts as the SS Thunderbolts as their insignia on their armbands. So he definitely was inspired by those German doctors who were figuring out creative and efficient ways to kill off the Jews during the Holocaust. And it also sheds light on the fact that many of those Nazi doctors were recruited by places like I want to say the FBI and the CIA. I think they were recruited and now they're working, and they're active members of like places of government influence, like even the Pentagon. I would say because a lot of these German doctors didn't go to jail. They were like saved and given ultimatums to defect and stuff like that. We do more research to come with more concrete information, but you could tell that this doctor was was inspired by that. Even if he wasn't, he gave me that vibe. And I could totally see these people, see white people working together to do this, working in a room, working with scientists, figuring out how to solve their black problem. You know.
Yep. Perhaps Gordon Park Jr. is trying to remind us or darken black people to the reality that Operation Paperclip, where the so-called United States military and government hired Nazi officials, Nazi doctors, Nazi scientists to come to America and work for them, work for our educational systems and our science facilities to perhaps continue the work they were doing on the Jews over there, which was killing them and mistreating them and developing weapons of mass destruction. So perhaps he's trying to remind us of that. But yeah, good eye. I just I'm in a habit of seeing like all races as equal as a racist, you know. So there's no difference really in my eyes from a Nazi than from a person who from a white liberal. You know, they are the same to me. You know, they're all practice white supremacy racism.
Well said. Agreed. What do you think of the the use of violence in the film?
I think this is a great example of counter war. You know, and even Mr. Key's character could be like an example of that to the utmost degree because he literally only uses counter violence when absolutely necessary. And I would say both all three of the main characters do, but we see white people practicing violence, racist white supremacy, just as their day and day, like that's their daily routine to practice racism, which is mistreating all black people and people they classify as not white. But I think it's a great example of counter war being practiced if people decide to go that route. And I also and I also think it's a great example of deep self-respect. You know, what about you?
Yeah, I think there was. I agree. Counter violence. I think a lot of the times in the film, the black people are the ones being ambushed, and then they kind of learn from the enemy, and they find out where they are working, and they ambush them and like infiltrate their establishment, and proceed to dismantle their system of their micro system of racism, white supremacy. And I definitely enjoyed the shootouts. I thought they were like really well directed, great physical effects. I was kind of mesmerized by all the black males defending themselves against police officers and other white males with guns. Because oftentimes in films, if you do see a black male with a gun, he's often working, with the enemy by killing another black person are working with the enemy and killing non-white people by the enemy's side. So it was refreshing to see like bad people, non-nice people being killed, especially and what I would call unfair shootouts because they're ambushing these black males trying to kill them, but they're failing because they're inadequate. It also brings me to a question I want to ask you. How do you feel about the scene with the three women on the motorcycles and how they tortured the white male that's kidnapped?
I thought that was another good example of the director perhaps trying to remind us that like white people like systematically torture and abuse and mind rape black people, black children, 24/7 all day. You know, it was literally like physically, mentally, spiritually. So I think that's a good example of showing that, and like maybe giving us some kind of like healing from that, some kind of like okay, now showing us a white male in a pitiful state because white supremacy has put the large majority of black people, non-white people, in a pitiful state. But I really love those three characters. The introduction was very stellar. This movie is shot so well. I feel like the transitions, the a lot of the things were so-called revolutionary for a film, but because of this message and because it's written by white people, there's too much truth. It would have got too many black people asking questions like, hold on, wait a minute, this is too familiar to what I read in some books. Are white people out here killing us? Are they trying to kill us? So, what about you? What do you think of that scene?
Which scene in particular?
The torture scene.
Oh, I thought it was I thought it was very interesting how the women were topless. Um, I don't really know what this director was doing with that. I think maybe they were like I guess they were like mutilating his like phallic organ, and they needed him to be aroused or confused or sexually heightened. I don't know. That scene was definitely creative and very like eye opening to say the least. It was interesting. I think the most important part from that is the fear aspect. Like white males are inadequate and they harbor a lot of fear, fear. Primarily the ones who like want white power and need white power to live. They he died of fear. He literally got scared to death. Thought that was interesting.
Yeah, also a Chris Mosley moment because even the black female and the non-white female, they could all genetically dominate the white race because they all produce color. Only white plus white equals white in the system of white supremacy. So good eye, uh, good eye. Well, what else? The ending ended like most of these sort of films do, I believe, in good taste and leaving us with you know, a future without white supremacy, without white people trying to kill us 24/7. Without having to be victims of this evil system, this evil empire. You know. Also, I really liked the. I knew they were being tailed. You remember the part where they were being followed by the two white people for a minute? You remember that part?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I knew they were being followed, and like that was a funny scene. Also, a good example of the usual suspects are hiding in plain sight. The racists are hiding in plain sight. The people who
When
practice
they, when
white
they
supremacy are hiding in plain sight. What'd you say?
you're talking about when they got ambushed by like the little carnival ride thing.
No, when they were like when they got attacked on the subway station.
Oh yeah. So you mentioned the ending. I wanted to mention how this was an ending that gives the black imagination hope, whatever that is, by showing all the primary characters of the film survive and make it out alive together. It just makes you feel like, oh, this is possible, and no one there was tragedy because the person who exposed the initial truth died, but maybe he was born just to do that. That was his destiny, was to expose the truth, and he gets to traverse multiverse in whatever form they choose, and without having to live on planet Earth as a victim of racism, white supremacy, which is the case for all living people on planet Earth who are classified and appear to be non-white, and primarily and especially the biggest target of them all, the black people. Yeah.
Well said.
Good seeing an ending. You know, good ending.
Yeah, I like how you put that, to let the black imagination, because a lot of movies just kill the black imagination, or the movies end with business as usual, white people remaining in control, all the power. So yeah, this is a movie that I hope would get people to maybe do some reading on what white people have been up to for the past couple thousand years, and maybe they'd be like, something suspicious about these folks. Maybe the system they got here should be replaced with justice, balance between people. Um, you think you should get any closing comments, or?
Let me think. Oh yeah. I don't remember noticing any feminized boots in the film. I was actually thinking about how the wardrobe was pretty dapper throughout. You know, these are well-looking black men. No one's wearing dresses, and no one has to practice anything that would be anti, sexual in a way. What else? I mean, the film is great. It has everything that you would want in a film. It has drama, it has action, a little bit of comedy, um, and it's a movie like that was made in a time where I feel like black people were practicing way more self respect. I think now it's unfortunate that black people have become kind of like memes in a way, like literally walking memes. Can't take them seriously. Don't care when they're speaking to you. Don't listen when they're speaking to you, unless it's like to entertain you. It's quite sad, And like anti-black code is like basically in everything in music. You got rappers talking about like how you know what's going on. 0526. Yeah, you know what's going on.
Yeah, I agree. Like the black, yes, the black race. No matter, I'm sorry, the black people who don't have a race, who confuse themselves further by thinking they are a race of people that can protect themselves or do anything of the sort. Yeah, we really, we've been, the number has been ran on us, and I do agree that at this level of time, there was much, much, much more levels of black self-respect. But I was just mentioning like one scene where Keys is walking through the airport and he has on these like boots. They're like heels. It's like, that's the only particular part. Other than that, the wardrobe was very dapper and stellar. But an example of like in that time there was still a lot of stuff going on, I believe.
Oh, definitely. How'd you feel about the the use of cars in the film and the use of explosives?
Yeah, I think like it just has to be the action movie. Like the action movie has the action, but um I don't like my nothing in my like in the unified field theory for me goes off in my antennas. What about you?
Um, for me, it was nice for victims of racism, white supremacy to see what tools that they have available to them, and also like watching car chasing and all these things. Like it always stresses me out. I'm like, it must have been really difficult to film this and really dangerous. And considering this was shot like in the 60s and 70s, I'm presuming. I just really commend them because a lot of the shots were just so good, and the stunts and the explosives really well crafted together. And I was thinking, they really invested millions of dollars into this film. There's a shot that I really enjoyed as well, where there's a airplane landing, and I think the camera is attached to the bottom of the plane, and we get to land with Mr. Keys, our Kung Fu Master character. And I thought that was really cool. But I did notice how Jim Brown, I think he was the one using the grenade launcher. I think that was kind of symbolic of showing who's the biggest, toughest one in the group. It's the person shooting explosive rounds at people. So that was something. Yeah.
Yeah, movie written by a white person. Um, yeah, also like I think it's suspicious to have the main character name be Jim and also it be played by I mean the main character name is Jimmy, but the guy who plays him is Jim Brown. So I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, it's very suspicious, but I can't pinpoint what it means. But the use of firearms was really important because we see throughout the movie, the white people have way more guns and access to guns than black people. So, you know, winning a gunfight with white people is probably not going to happen anytime soon. So let's get as many people, at least practicing deep levels of black self-respect. You know, yes. What would you say to that?
I agree. Um, that is the only thing that's gonna uh, do some type of shift and a shift and changing the dominating energy force of the planet, which is right now, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as I can see, is the dominating energy field that runs and guides the planet is racism, white supremacy. And in order for that to shift, it's going to need deep levels of restoration of Black self respect, individual and group respect.
Yep,
Yeah.
agreed. And for my closing comments, I would add this to a must watch for black people, must watch for people wanting to get some. Watch a movie about race and white supremacy. This is a good movie about race and white supremacy, about the race problem, and about the usual suspects and how they go about solving their problems, which unfortunately you are.
Right? So for my closing comments, uh, stellar film, definitely gave me positive energy. And I agree with 0526. This is a film that is all about racism, white supremacy. So you get to learn about how white people speak about you when you're not there. Um, what kind of terms that they use to refer to black people, and kind of what the agenda is. There's a reason why there's a liquor store in every corner in black poor neighborhoods. There's a reason why you can get a gun at a pawn shop in a black neighborhood. There's a reason why there's so much suffering around you if you are a black person. Try it. Pick up your phone and call another black person and ask them, "Hey, what's really going on? You know, are you suffering?" And I'm pretty sure they'll tell you that they are. So this film is a good escape. Watch it, get ready. Hopefully we can replace the system of racism, white supremacy with justice soon.
Thank you, Mr. N. CRWS signing off.